Hi everyone, I'm Ben Myers, and welcome to Beer with Ben. We're traveling our country in search of the most unique and tasty beers our nation has to offer. Because of you, we're at episode number 12, our season finale, celebrating the holidays and bringing in the new year. We're back in my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to Wild Heaven Beer, West End. Wild Heaven was started by two lifelong Georgians with a mission to serve your neighbor, and indeed they have. With the opening of their second location on the West End Beltline, also known as Malt Disney, now with 3 breweries, a distillery, and a craft beer store and restaurant. This area has it all, including tacos at Comida Fina inside of Wild Heaven. Let's go find some tasty beer and tacos. Hey guys, we're inside Wild Heaven West End with President and co-founder Nick Purdy. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for coming to see us.
Glad you're here. Little cheers.
Here you go. Cheers.
Exactly.
A little bit of Saison, can't go wrong with that.
And this is, before we get into it, this is your kind of take on Saison DuPont.
Yeah, we call it cheekily West End DuPont.
West End DuPont, there you
we
go.
make a Saison and have for years. It's a little different than the straight ahead normal one. And Eric, I asked him the other day, he said, I'm gonna make a Saison. I was like, man, just make the classic one.
Yeah.
And so he did it. He basically said, well, I'm gonna reference the greatest one, Saison DuPont. And it was so dead on. I was like, can we just call it West End DuPont? I know that we would never do that like for a beer we're going to put in cans. I mean, we'd never do that. But just for here at the brewery, we thought it'd be fun.
Well, the taste alone is delicious, refreshing, little estery from the yeast. And I think I was telling you earlier, I think a little coriander,
absolutely.
You could eat with this one. This is something that's kind of
this isn't every beer.
Jack of all trades beer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Before we get into Wild Heaven here, West End, tell me a little bit about your background. I know you have some publishing, a little consulting. What kind of got you to starting and founding Wild Heaven?
Yeah, so I guess I'm just a marketing kind of guy, an energy guy, a little bit of an ideas guy, but I'm not really the creative guy. But back in 1998, I did start Paste Magazine with my very good friend Josh Jackson, and that was all about getting people to pay attention to the better stuff in pop culture. And so instead of the mainstream, at that time pop music was really bad. And sort of the rise of indie was starting to happen, and we were seeing that there was just so much better stuff, but people didn't know about it. And we wanted to create a media brand to kind of help point them to better stuff. Late in early 2000s, I started getting super excited about craft beer. There's a pub here in Atlanta called the Brick Store Pub, which is famous, and I'm sure you've been to tons of times.
Famous beer.
That place really got me kind of down the rabbit hole, and eventually I was so excited about it, I couldn't just sit on the sidelines. I just have this kind of weird energy of I got to go do something, and so.
It's like, I gotta get involved in this somehow.
I gotta get involved. That's exactly what it was. That's the phrase I used. And I said to Eric Johnson, a guy I'd known for a very long time.
We'll talk to him later.
Yeah, you'll get with Eric here, who made this. And I said, Eric, I don't know why you haven't started a brewery yet, but I want to. What do you think? And he said yes. And so we did it. And the reason I knew about him is he had become friends with a lot of my friends. I would go to his house outside Athens and drink the beer he was making. But your friends that homebrew, it's typically like you homebrew.
That's right.
Pot on the stove, right?
Yeah, pot on the stove.
Yeah, so Eric didn't do it like that. Okay. Eric had 2 50-gallon steam-jacketed kettles hard-piped into natural gas in his backyard. So he basically had a real production nano brewery in his yard. So the quality of the beer, though, when you're steam jacketing beer, you're getting that that smooth, even cooking that you can't really get with direct fire.
And especially if you got like an electric burner.
Yeah,
you're getting the bottom part's getting burned.
Exactly.
So he's like a whole nother level of brewer.
He's making beer at that level, and so he's making beers that first of all, styles I'd never had, and then at a quality level that people at their houses don't usually do, and so it was pretty mind-blowing for me, and it's a good partnership. We come together when we think about things like branding, what kind of beers we ought to make, big strategic decisions, but I'm thrilled to know that we got this mashup artist-scientist guy, which is what you want.
And then he has the horticultural background, which we'll get into that
later,
later,
The horticulture thing is crazy, but I will say this.
So many
the ideal brewer
elements.
is both an artist and a scientist. And the reason I think that is that an artist can make you something interesting. A scientist can make it again. And
repeatable, achievable results.
Exactly. And in beer, of course you do a lot of one-off beers these days, very popular, and we do that as well. But you have to have a core that can be reliably there, and especially if you want to be in grocery stores and whatnot. Well, those beers need to be very, very consistent.
So within 5 years, you've already got the second location here on the West End Beltline.
Yep.
You've seen our last episode at Monday Night Garage, which is literally next door. So they're part of this movement. It's exciting. I mean, and then you guys have been here a month?
We've been here about 3 months.
3 months.
Open about 3 months.
3 months.
So yeah, I mean, what's happened in craft beer the last few years is it's getting more and more local in a good way. If you go back to the history of craft beer in the United States, you're dealing with a brewery in every little town. And in fact, only in the last couple of years have we gotten back to where there's as many breweries now as there were before Prohibition. And it's filling in all those little ones that create that wonderful sort of third space that we found with like coffee shops over the last couple of decades. Now we've got the breweries, which are weirdly family friendly. I don't know if you've noticed in your travels, but
dogs and kids.
Dogs and kids are in breweries all the time. But we've created a space here that's all about just a fun, relaxing, lighthearted kind of place with high quality stuff. You know,
so far so good.
So far so good. That's the plan. Cheers.
What in particular makes this West End location special? Why are people coming here? And I know you only have a 3 months sample size, but what's your vision or what's bringing people here?
We have a smaller brewery here than in our original location. The original location is a third the size of the building, but the brew system there is a large brew system, 30 barrel, 120 barrel tanks. Here we're on a 7 barrel with 15 barrel tanks so that Eric can crank out that constant stream of something new. We've been releasing a beer every Friday at 5 p.m. for the last 7 or 8 weeks.
That's the constant, achievable, repeated results that you've been talking about earlier.
Yeah. But here though is more of the let's just riff and see what happens next. I mean,
this is the exciting part about having the second location is you can kind of shake off your little creative dust and do whatever
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a make the donuts element of once you have core beers that are on the shelves in places like Kroger or Publix or Whole Foods. Those you're just kind of making the same thing over and over again. So if Eric is an artist, clearly he's going to be a little bored at some point, right? So this gives him that laboratory.
Do your thing.
I mean, he comes to me the other day, and I'm sure you'll taste this beer later. He says, "So I made a golden ale." Okay, great. It's a Belgian. Great. We love Belgian beers.
Yeah.
Well, it's got fennel pollen and golden beets in it. And I'm like, I don't even know what those are.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody wants that or is asking for that. They want double dry hop, triple IPAs.
They want New England style IPAs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they want pastry stouts. And here's the thing: he makes this incredibly creative and different beer. We've had people come in and say one of the best things I've ever had. I taste the beer, and I'm like, I never could have imagined this, and it's amazing. One of the reasons I know I'm in the right business is I'm still in love with beer. If I'm not in Atlanta, the first thing I'm looking to do is get to a brewery. I'm not even
Same here.
Not even remotely close to bored of going to breweries.
Do you have anything you'd like to let our viewers know about what's going on for the future, the West End location here?
Well, what I would say about the West End location,
kind of settling in on it.
We are. We're still kind of moving in some ways. There's not enough stuff hung on the walls yet. Today's the most beers we've had on tap. We have 28 on tap today. And that's actually more than we even planned on having on tap here, but Eric's making a lot of beers. He's having so much fun back there.
He's back there. He's the mad scientist.
He's having a great time.
Crazy.
And so at some point, I don't know when we stop, but for the moment, we just have lots.
Please don't.
Okay.
We're all asking you not to stop brewing.
Deal.
So, Nick Purdy, president, co-founder, thank you for joining Beer with Ben. I think we've had a great talk, man.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Hey guys, we're out on the patio here with Eric Johnson, brewmaster and co-founder. Welcome to the show. We're so excited to talk to you about, obviously we got a plethora of beers here, and I want to hear all about it. So welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So before we get into the beer, I know we got a lot of background with you as far as horticulture, bar owner, brewer, I mean, the list goes on. You're the modern day brewery renaissance man.
So my background, I'm a trained horticulturalist. I started homebrewing when I was 17. So even before I was into plants and all of that, I was into homebrewing. And it's a beautiful culinary thing. And of course, back then, there were so few beers that were available in Georgia. So we were just trying to replicate styles like Chimay Blue that you couldn't get. Georgia was capped at 6%. So that was really what got so many of us into home brewing back then. As a hobby, I started Trappy's Pub. It was just kind of a side hustle at that point in time in Athens, Georgia. That blew up. I ended up owning a couple of other bars in Athens as well. And at that point in time, or a few years into that, Nick was talking to me about wanting to open a craft brewery, and I was a very avid home brewer at that point in time, and so I got brought on board as like an unpaid consultant because it was illegal, of course, to be part of a pub and a brewery.
I didn't know that. Okay.
It is.
Interesting.
Yeah, Georgia's got very rigid franchise laws, which, in many ways is actually a good thing. There's some downsides, but it's mostly a good thing. I think probably what Brian's vision was different than ours, and so he did 3 taverns, we did Wild Heaven. We're like, the original breweries are half a mile away from each other.
Yeah,
and
so
that's how we
Avondale Estates, and I guess, is it Decatur, or they're both Avondale?
Yeah, but we're
They're
both
kinda
kind of
like
on the line,
there
so
in that
it's
area.
like, yeah.
So one thing I could say between those two is like a little bit of Belgian influence going on. Both breweries are heavily inclined to.
I mean, that's where we
Yeah.
both started. And at that point in time, when you think about what Georgia beer was, that was like 12 years ago. Like prior to 2004, like anything over 6% alcohol was illegal in Georgia. And so in 2005, of course, now we're getting this huge confluence of like amazing beers from everywhere, and it changed the entire landscape. And so back then, because high gravity beers were the cool new thing, it's what we were all making. But yeah, in time, like as any beer market matures, you see people gravitating away from let's just drink 3 beers and get fucked up to how can we have a beer that's like nuanced, elegant, complex, balanced. I'm always thinking about flavor. Beer is the only beverage in the world of like alcoholic beverages that's truly and purely culinary. And so I think about like what works in food. And so every time I'm cooking, like
that'll kind of.
Yeah, I'll go to like off the beaten path, like little Lebanese grocery stores and buy the 5 things I've never heard of. I mean, there's probably 50 things in there.
Well, yeah.
But I'll buy like things I've never heard of. Like I'll go to DeKalb Farmers Market and look at a jackfruit and say like, how could we use this in cooking and then use that to make a beer, which we've done. And so a lot of it really is the creative outlet. And especially here at West End, where we're brewing on a 7-barrel system, I make a brand new beer. We release a brand new beer every single week.
That's beautiful. It's like you turn into a mad scientist. I mean, you're a regular scientist, not a crazy person, but you're figuring out what works with what, and it's. I mean, that's part of what you love. I mean, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with every beer, I think of like, what is the right canvas for this flavor? If I put something out that has Wild Heaven's name on it, the question I always ask myself is like, what's the point of that beer? Like, did we make a contribution? Was it thoughtful? Was it creative? Is there a reason why you should drink it as an avid beer consumer?
Is it contributing to not to sound
landscape.
like, the beer zeitgeist.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
not to sound like we're,
No, but it's true.
crazy,
It's true.
but
Like, did you make
are
a
you
contribution?
contributing? Yeah.
Right. I mean, you have a million ingredients. There's no limitations to what you can do in beer.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Like, get the 10,000-foot view and go like, wait, we're gonna use, beet, or
Sure.
what was the other ingredient you were telling me about?
Fennel pollen.
Fennel pollen. That's amazing. Original, awesome stuff. Well, speaking of all that original stuff, let's get into the tasting. So we'll start right here.
Okay, yeah. So the first beer is Raleigh, and
Like the city, kind of.
Yeah, but it's actually named after Raleigh Saperstein, who's one of our favorite horticulturists at the Atlanta Botanic Gardens. Oh. We have a great relationship with them. So this beer, the foundation is a wheated German Helles. It's a 9% beer. And Raleigh and her team harvested over 100 pounds of Roselle, which is a Lebanese hibiscus that we made this beer with. And I wanted a very neutral palate for this. So the base beer is like...
I'm getting like that sweet floral, but it's got a nice... The sweetness kind of goes into the malt, but the malt's a very, like you said, like a light kind of bed for it.
It's nice, even like clean canvas for it.
Ooh. All right, Eric, let's go on to the second one. Tell me a little bit about this one.
Okay, so this is a collaborative effort with the Atlanta Botanical Garden. We have a deep relationship with them. Of course, my horticulture background, and we've filmed many Garden Smart shows there. So we have a great relationship with them. So we look at every single season of the year. This beer changes 4 times a year, and it's always different. So we don't go back and rehash.
This one's called just garden beer, right?
This is garden beer version 2.0. So this is made with scuppernongs, peach, and basil.
Very southern of you.
Yes. So this was the fall variant of it. Really trying to play off of like what's fresh in the garden at that point in time.
Oh man, I mean this is like, it's so light on the palate, but it's full of flavor, but it's very nuanced, subtle flavors. Like it's like a pillow of like botanical, floral.
Everything's fresh. Like if we use an ingredient, it's not like something we pumped into a beer.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing, it's all about that subtle, nuanced, not slamming you in the face with a certain flavor. But that's delicious. Wow.
Okay,
Go
so
to
the
number
next
3
one.
here.
All right, so
Beautiful golden here.
this is is also a collaboration I made with the chef from Longleaf, Jason Paolini, who's a dear friend of mine. And there was one day where he and I were talking about like all these flavor combinations that people have never done in beer. And there's no reason why we wouldn't. I think oftentimes we feel limited by what our perception of beer should be is. And
That's where these people are doing the remakes. Like, no.
right.
Expand your mind.
Yeah, stop doing a line extension. Just do something original. So what we made here was I took 200 pounds of golden beets, baked them, and then cut them into medallions, finished them on the plancha to caramelize them. That went into the mash, and then I used fennel pollen in
This
the
is the
finish.
fennel pollen beer, yeah.
Yeah. So the base of this beer is a Belgian strong golden, brewed with caramelized golden beets and fennel pollen. I know that sounds weird, but it's not weird. It's
wow.
delicious. So we
Oh, the back end. So it almost is like a honey or like sweet.
It's got all those
Floral
like high
honey
esters.
thing?
It's
That's
the
very unique. Wow.
That's the Westmore yeast strain. So you're getting kind of that banana bubblegum like clove phenol with
little esteries, a little estery flavor.
and then you get the earthiness of the beets, and then you get, of course, the fennel pollen's going to present as star anise or licorice.
Okay.
It totally works.
Yeah, I get like almost like you get like a tiny bit of residual sweetness with that floral, and I almost feel like it's like a little honey, like you're almost like a honeysuckle situation a little bit. Yeah, wow, that's delicious.
Yeah. So it's named Good and Plenty.
Good and plenty.
After the licorice candy that we had when we were kids.
Let's go number 4 here.
All right, this is one of my favorites. I love well-made lagers, and I think there are too few craft brewers that make lagers.
That's how you test their true brewing ability.
Well, you can't hide behind a lager. You know what I'm
there's
saying?
no
It's like-
hops or anything else to.
like-
it's on. Here you go.
when I go to a brewery that I don't know, or if they have a lager, I'll order it. If it's bad, it's like, see ya, sorry. So this is an Imperial Munich lager. This beer, the base of it is 80% light Munich malt. And then I used over 100 pounds of dried black currants that were reconstituted in cognac.
So you get that like the Maillard effect with the roasted malt or with the malt flavor, but there's like that little we just talked about. There's like that secondary, tertiary flavor of. I wouldn't have known it. You said blackberries, or
They're dried black currants that were
currants.
reconstituted in cognac. And if I didn't tell you the beer had that,
I would have
you
no
wouldn't
idea.
get it.
No.
But it adds
There's a little
layers and
depth.
layers
Yeah.
and layers of complexity.
Beautiful.
That makes. I love actually making beers and not even advertising the flavors. Like Height of Civilization was a beer.
Oh, I've had that one. Yeah.
So that had like dried cranberries, tart cherries, loomy lemons, and then it had cocoa nibs that were rehydrated in bourbon that was aged in tequila barrels for 2 years. Well, we didn't
That's
put that on the label.
unbelievable,
We
yeah.
just said a full-bodied ale. And I love like building the layers of complexity into a beer and just being like, there you go. And someone's like, oh my God, that is different. That's different.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the depth on there, like you think, oh, I got like a regular kind of malty, like dunkel or what have you, and then it's like, oh, what's this little thing helping me? The little parachute getting me
it's like in
to
the mid palate and then the finish, and you're like,
here, yeah.
what is that? What is that? You know?
Oh yeah, I'm just soaking it in over here. All right,
There you go.
5th, but certainly not least.
There you
Here
go.
we go.
I mean, we're kind of drinking like light to dark from
Yeah,
the standpoint of
absolutely.
at least the weight of flavor.
Yeah, look at that guy.
So this is Dark Glove. This is kind of a Christmas-ish, winter beer that I made. And so I love mint as a plant, as a flavor in cooking. You see it in like a lot of Middle Eastern, Lebanese cooking. And so I used orange mint and chocolate mint, and then also curacao, and then also a bunch of cocoa nibs
Wow.
that were rehydrated in bourbon. And
It seems to be a kind of a repeating thing for you. Rehydrating like cocoa nibs or dried fruits in certain liquors. I mean, obviously that lends itself to
alcohol extracts all the alcohol-soluble flavors.
like the essential oils from whatever. Well, it depends on what it is.
Yeah, so if you make a red sauce at home, like a marinara.
Which I do a lot. Jambroni. I got my mom's side. So.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Okay, well, if you make a marinara at home
Yeah.
and you add wine to it, Of course, it tastes better because you added wine to it, but it also tastes way better because the wine solubilizes alcohol-soluble flavors in the tomatoes, and so you experience more tomato when you add wine to your red sauce. So,
Mom?
There you go. And that's why, Mom. That's why. If you think about like cocoa nibs, which it's a fairly hard, substance, and how do you get the flavor out of it? How do you break it down? Also, if you just dump dry cocoa nibs into a tank of beer, it's almost 100% chance it's infected. So,
Infected fermented beer already.
yeah. So the Four Roses bourbon, it's going to kill any bacteria or whatever's like living on the surface of the cocoa nibs, but it also extracts that rich chocolate flavor. And the same thing with the black currants here.
So usually you get the cocoa bitterness, like a little harsh. This has there's something that gets in there and kind of just velvety, kind of just makes the aftertaste just kind of flow. Balance is the name of the game, man. Elegant balance. I think that's, if we take anything from all this, Eric Johnson, Wild Heaven Beer, West End, thank you for joining the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh yeah, thank you for being here.
I mean, you are a wealth of information. If you guys get on PBS, Garden Smart, you're the host. We didn't mention that, so awesome.
Yeah, we're all 50 states.
Yeah, he has tons of information when it comes to any of the botanicals, or as a chef, as a brewer. It's been amazing to talk to you.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
All right.
Hey guys, we're still inside Wild Heaven West End, and we're here with Ale Sharpton, beer writer, beer influencer, beer everything. I mean, I don't know what to label you.
I try to cover everything I can in the beer scene, honestly, man, and it's just so fun. Everybody's so down to earth.
Yeah.
It's what I love about it. The beer is great, and I love sipping it, but it's the people behind it and what you're doing. So yes, everything.
Before we get ahead of ourselves, let's try this out. Oh my God. So what are we drinking on here, man? You hand selected this beer, so tell us about it.
Yo, Eric is a beast. The brewmaster and all that. Yeah, good choice of having him on your show. And he's always eccentric, which is a great thing when it comes to beer. And this one is, I'm from the islands, it's got a little coconut in it, and I'm a hop head.
Okay.
And this is the extra pale ale. So this is a mix, and it's 5.5%. I never thought I'd be wanting to try sessionable stuff and always drink them, because I usually like the hardcore things, but now I'm really into the 6s and 7s and 5s and IPA. So this is phenomenal.
First off, good choice.
Thank you.
I would never doubt you. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into kind of the beer. I know you do like food and beer kind of writing,
Yes.
that scene. And then we'll get into Wild Heaven in a second here, but tell us about your background.
I'm born in New York. My parents are from Brooklyn, the Bronx.
Hence the hat.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
Hey, that's it.
Bronx, baby.
And they had me in Ithaca, New York, where I was born, and ended up going to school there eventually. But between those times, I lived in Cleveland Heights. Sorry, I lived in Shaker Heights.
Shaker Heights in Cleveland.
I can't say Cleveland Heights. That's all right.
I got family around Shaker Heights, so they're gonna be like,
"Yo, you said Cleveland Heights?
that's not a real town.
Yeah, Shaker.
Yeah.
I love all of Cleveland. Beer was always something that I tasted from, I hate to say it, but 6 years old. My uncle gave me a sip of his beer thinking I would spit out, say it was gross.
Was that like a PBR or what?
It was actually a High Life. Very close.
Very
But
fancy
it
of your
was-
uncle,
it
the
was
champagne of beers.
The champagne of beers. He wanted me to drink champagne. That was my
That's
first sip.
Yeah.
And this was a little playful sip, but actually it resonated for me even since back then, and I didn't mind the taste of it. So when I got older, I knew that was always my thing. I never was into liquor or wine or anything like that. So I'm always into packaging and things looking cool. Beer always had cool packaging. So Lauren Brow was my shit.
Oh
whatever the
yeah,
case
Lauren
is.
Brow's great.
And then it is cool, that blue. It's just, so I'm in high school parties and Shaker holding my beer, but I was like drinking wine coolers and stuff. Like, no, beer is where it's at.
Plurals and James action. That was when the Fuzzy Navel was like,
Oh my gosh.
at the height of
and wine coolers,
popularity.
Wine coolers, Seagrams and all were killing it. So then I went to Cornell and I studied hospitality because all my family's are lineage of chefs. So I always wanted to be in food. I always wanted to own. I had this thing of owning a club or restaurant and having all this crazy menu. So I went and studied it, and then after Cornell, my family moved to Atlanta. And thank God, because Atlanta was burgeoning at the time. That's when Outkast was starting to get hot. And I was like, hey, you going to Atlanta? I'm wide open for it. So after graduating from high school from Shaker, going to Cornell, I went to Atlanta. Now, Atlanta's crazy at this time. The only problem with Atlanta is the beer scene. And
non-existent.
Pretty much. There were a couple
you had
of
Atlanta
small breweries and
brewing, and that was about it, right?
Yeah.
Or no?
Well, back then it was Dogwood,
Dogwood, that's right, yeah.
which was going on, and one other one. I can't remember the name right now because it's been so long. But anyway, the problem was the limit was 6% alcohol. And I was like, there's no way I can survive on 6%. Well, now I can because I'm seasoned. But back then I'm like, oh my God, there's no way. And my joint at the time was like Brooklyn Black Chocolate Stout was popping, and there's a couple other beers. Sierra Nevada was out then. They saved my life. The Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale was like 5.7.
That was my
go-to.
gateway beer.
Oh, word, there you go. That's a great one. Well, mine was High Life, but still. There's no way that I was going to be living in Atlanta and I have that. So I helped promote changing the law through writing. So my dream of owning a club, I decided to rather write about clubs and write about restaurants and develop my penmanship. And I created a name for myself, a pseudonym. No one had that at the time, so I made it Ale Sharpton.
And then you've met Al Sharpton.
Yes, I did, yeah.
You've met kind of,
This year, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
He was flying to Atlanta and read about me in Forbes, and he was like, oh, let me hit this dude up. So his PR team hit me up through Instagram, asked, say, Al Sharpton love to take a picture with you and meet you. Would you mind meeting up with him?
I think I'll make some time.
So let me check my schedule. But anyway, it happened. He was very cordial, very cool, and just really appreciated what I was doing. And I said specifically in the article that I am not making fun of him, but more paying homage to his passion, what he does. I have passion
what he
for
represents.
beer, and I want a name that people remember. Dennis Malcolm Byron is a little more of a law firm. I always joke about in a way.
So his blog is cruisinforabruisin.com.
Or alesharpton.com.
Or Ale Sharpton, A-L-E, alesharpton.com.
And Bruisin spelled B-R-E-W-S-I-N. So no G's in there, but yeah.
So you have all that. That's where you're kind of your main source of information. If anyone's check it out.
Sure.
What other?
And Instagram.
And Instagram.
Yeah, Real Ale Sharpton. That's my jam.
At Real Ale Sharpton.
Yeah.
Real.
That's
Is he here?
R-E-A-L.
I think he's
me.
real. He seems real.
Yeah.
Is there anything new coming up that you'd like to tell us about?
Oh, absolutely. Well, down the line now is I'm starting my own publication, which is under the wraps. It's going to happen.
I've heard
digital
some things.
and then I have you got a nice team there.
Yeah.
And then also a podcast is on the way. A couple other things.
So obviously you've been here before. They're only 3 months in, but can you tell us kind of about this particular location? We've talked about the original Avondale Estates location. What makes this special in your mind?
What's interesting, and you said 3 months in, for here, but when I tried their beer first back in the day, when it first started, they were one of the first people I interviewed for my blog, which is really amazing too, and we go way back like that. And I tried their Invocation and the Ode to Mercy. I was like, oh shit, not only is it a high gravity beer, but it was excellent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So with that, and then doing it here, the West End, which is a developing area, yes, we have some gentrification things going on, but the people make sure there's opportunities given to people who live here, and that the beer word is spreading. And this area is almost like, they call it kind of Malt Disney is what they call it, which is funny. I'm starting to develop that name around this area because there's other breweries that are here, and you feature Monday night, which is literally a stone's throw away.
Yes, that was a couple episodes ago. You guys saw that.
Yeah. And I'm watching your stuff.
All right, I love it.
Wild Heaven they're great people. They're all about the community, and it's no fluff. And that's why when you told me that you're going to be doing your show here, which is a great choice, the place is massive.
Oh no!
So
not only the brewery, the tasting room area. I mean, I got to walk through. There's the whole event space. So if you want to get married, maybe next door, and then you have the reception here, or get married here and have the reception next door. You have so many options.
Use him as a reference. Maybe he'll get a cut of whoever gets married.
Maybe you. Yeah.
But no, it's dope, man. And beer is my thing, man.
I hear
It's
you.
the best beverage in the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So one more time.
Hey,
we
I'll
cheers
toast
a lot
anytime.
on this show because it's a drinking show.
Yep. It's bad luck to not drink after you toast.
So Ale, tell us.
Yeah, so I made a
Did you? I've heard you did a collaboration with New Belgium.
which was an honor. It was an honor.
Tell me about that.
One of the biggest breweries, period, brewing companies, and they reached out to me to ask me about helping maybe do some consultation on diversity and how they can help the beer scene, not necessarily themselves, but really just the beer scene, how they contribute to getting more people to enjoy beer. I said, well, shit, fly me up, let's talk. They flew me out to the Fort Collins, the original.
Oh, you went to the OG.
The original OG.
Kim
OG.
Jordan, that's where Kim Jordan is.
Oh man, everybody was up there, man.
It's a great spot.
So shout out to them and Laura and everybody else. So Justin Cross was the guy who brought me in too. So they flew me out there, and I already had my thing lined out. So they had me at a table, and they said, okay, El, what are your thoughts? What are your ideas? I said, my idea is to make a beer with you guys. And they were like, okay, that's a good idea. They said, why make a beer? I said, because beer whets the palate for discussion about diversity. They're like, all right. And so they said, okay, what kind of beer though? I said, I already know, it's gonna be an Imperial Stout. They said, why?
What was the ABV?
Well, I'm about to get to you. I got
Sorry,
you.
I'm jumping the gun over here.
No. You're good though. You're good though. I always get asked that question I'm talking about. So then I said Imperial Stout. They said, why? I said, y'all don't make them. They're like, damn,
That's true.
That's true.
Ah.
Exactly. Just, dude, you're killing me.
Hey.
So they said, okay, wow, all right, that's a good idea. They said, okay, but what style of Imperial? I said, we're gonna make a dark chocolate vanilla Imperial Stout. They're like, why? I said, chocolate vanilla diversity. They were like,
Hey, you want diversity?
they were like,
I'm gonna
oh,
give it
shit.
to you.
And they were loving it.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
so open-minded and so cool. And living in Colorado, you could be even more open-minded if you know what I mean. But everybody is like, oh, word, this is a great idea. Not all of them, but some, I'm sure. So then they were like, okay, that's what's up. And then I had the chocolate already ready to go. There's a great chocolatier here in Atlanta called Chocolato, and they make they do all their chocolate and everything. They ship it in from different parts, and they are all about sustainability and helping out culture. So I already had them on deck. And so I wanted a dark chocolate. I wanted something super sweet. I had a 73% chocolate in mind, and the vanilla they wanted to get from the motherland, which is even keeping it more real. So we had some from Uganda.
Oh,
so,
wow.
This is like really keeping it real. And then they said, okay, but what about a name? I said Piano Keys. They're like, come on, that's gotta be taken. Piano Keys, Ebony Ivory. They were like, yeah,
Stevie
but come
Wonder,
on.
baby.
And it wasn't taken. I already had my research on it. I said, look it up. They looked that shit up, locked it down.
The rest is history.
Ale Sharpton and New Belgium make a beer, and then the percentage. They're like, what percentage do you think it should be? This is totally this. I'm like, I'm born in October. That's the 10th month. Let's make it 10%. And they were saying yes, yes. I was like, there's a genie giving me all these fucking wishes, but it's still going to a good cause. I'm like, oh my gosh. So
You are bringing people together.
there you go. That's what beer does.
Through a beer.
The power of beer.
Amen.
So
We'll do a
we
little
got
sip.
more coming out next year.
So
I'm dropping that. You're the first person to know that.
awesome. No, I feel privileged.
No, you're the man.
Yeah.
You're the
So,
man. So it's coming out. We're doing a whole nother surge.
So is there any other beers that you want to like let anyone else know about, or what do you know what's on your radar
There's
right
a couple
now?
other
Obviously,
breweries.
we got the project radar. I want to
Uh-huh.
know what's going on. Like
No, I
personally,
appreciate
like
that.
if you want to sit by the fire, sit in the living room.
Oh,
like
okay.
what beers are you sipping on right now?
I'm still an IPA, hophead kind of guy, just because I know how I wake up in the morning. A lot of the heavier beers, I don't want that little stinger behind your left eye, if you know what I mean, in the morning.
I have no
it's
idea
all
what you're
about,
talking
It's all about
about.
modification. I mean, not modification, moderation. sorry.
Moderation.
Yeah, see, I've
How
been drinking
much-
too.
how much
Look
you
at all
want?
these big words, I know, but I know which one I was talking about. So it's all about moderation, but also that's just the beer I kind of like. But
Yeah.
I will have a roasty Piano Keys by the fireplace, of course. And then, you know, anything with my homies like you, man, I'm down. It's gonna be a good beer.
Ale Sharpton. Wait, the interview's gone really well, but I feel like something's missing.
Oh shit, what?
Well, hold on one second.
Oh.
Oh, well, I would say that's a lot better.
All right.
I would say this is now the perfect interview.
I like it. I've never worn a. What do you consider this ugly sweater? Those are cool.
This is the
design.
ugly Christmas sweater.
Okay.
With my little cheesy phrase, let's go find some tasty beer. But I know you're a clothes guy. You know, you're lifestyle writer and beer and also
love my clothes, man,
So
but-
this is kind of a stretch for him. So
This is cool though.
we did our magic wand.
Can I pop the collar? Here you
Yeah.
go. Bang. Here we go. I'm not mad at it.
Ale Sharpton, thank you for joining the
Pleasure,
show.
bro.
It's been
I got you,
amazing.
man.
Guys, check out his blog, cruisinforabruisin.com. On Instagram, Real Ale Sharpton, and obviously us, Beer W Ben, or we're now on Facebook, beerwithben.com. Find everything, guys. Here we
Check
are.
this dude out.
Hey, celebrating the season with my man, Ale Sharpton.
Shout out to Wild Heaven, baby.
Wild Heaven.
Bang. El Sharpton pose.
That wraps up our trip here to Wild Heaven Beer West End. Tune in next time as we continue our journey across our country for the most unique and tasty beers here on Beer with Ben.